Okay, today we're talking about Latin America's physical features. On the front side of your notes, we're going to start out by talking about Middle America. Middle America is the section you see highlighted in yellow at the top of the screen. It's important for you to realize that Middle America and Central America are not the same thing. Central America does not include Mexico. So when you talk about Middle America, you are including Mexico. So a few notes to write down in that box on the left-hand side of your notes. First of all, Middle America sits on 4 tectonic plates. Therefore, there's lots of ash and lava in this part of the world, making it have extremely fertile soil. Because of those plates, you're also going to see lots of volcanoes and earthquakes happening in Middle America. Through the middle of this part of the world, you're going to see mountains. Looking at that map on the bottom left-hand side, you can see the orange and yellow are higher elevations than the green. So mountains rise like a backbone throughout the middle of Central America, which causes some problems for transporting goods. There's also things like forests and marshes that make transporting goods very difficult to do in Middle America. Next up is the Caribbean, or you might hear Caribbean. Either one's fine. They're the group of islands that you see on the top left-hand side of your screen. On your notes, in the box that says Caribbean, please write down a couple things. First of all, there's 3 groups. The Greater Antilles, which are the larger islands, the Lesser Antilles, which are the smaller islands, and finally, the Bahamas, the group of islands towards the top. The largest island in the Greater Antilles is Cuba, which makes up roughly half of this region's land area. Most of the islands here are low-lying islands, so they're not very high up in elevation. However, some were formed by volcanoes, and they do have mountains on top. Last thing you should know about the Caribbean is that while we do talk about the Greater Antilles, Lesser Antilles, and Bahamas, there's one more term you should know, and that term is Hispaniola. The island of Hispaniola is made up of both Haiti and the Dominican Republic. They share one island. Finally, in South America, a couple things to write down. South America is the 4th largest continent in the world, with about 12 independent countries. There are also 3 territories that make up South America. Territories are either islands or countries that really belong somewhere else. So they might be in a territory of the United States or a territory of Great Britain. The size of South America is 3.888 million square miles, and it is home to the highest waterfall in the world, which is called Angel Falls. Flip to the back side of your notes today. You can see that there's a spot for you to write about each of the following physical features. You should also label them on the front on your map. So to start off, the Pampas. Pampas actually is translated to mean flat surface. The Pampas are fertile lowlands with great farmable land. They're approximately 300,000 square miles large. And here you're going to find things being farmed such as vegetables and fruits, wheat, and you'll also see lots of livestock raising taking place in the Pampas. This word is pronounced llanos. The llanos, or llanos, if you're speaking Spanish, are located towards the northern end, so make sure you label that on the front of your notes. You can see them up in green towards the top. These are grasslands in Venezuela and Colombia. There's lots of flooding happening in this region every year, so every year they get very wet, the llanos do. Most of the economic activity that's happening here is going to be either cattle raising or oil. The llanos are approximately 220,000 square miles in size. Next up is the Amazon Basin. I'm hoping at some point in your education you've already learned about the Amazon Basin, learned about the Amazon rainforest, and the Amazon River. They're all found here in the Amazon Basin. This area is 2,760,000 square miles. Makes up about 40% of the entire continent of South America. The Amazon basin is drained by the Amazon River, which crosses through this region, and the tributaries that are part of that river system. The Amazon basin is home to the largest rainforest in the world, and therefore it's very sparsely or limited in as far as population goes. The Amazon River is used mainly for transportation to get across the continent and for a fishing resource. Finally, in the Amazon basin, deforestation is a big problem. So people are cutting down trees, and that's causing problems for animals and losing part of our rainforest. Next up on your map on the front, please identify the Andes Mountains. The Andes Mountains stretch along the west coast of this continent. They are the longest mountain range in the world, but not the highest. They're the second highest. The Andes Mountains are home to the world's highest volcanoes, however. And most of the time, Andes Mountains are used for mining purposes. Things like copper, gold, tin, and silver are mined in the Andes. The Atacama Desert is located just to the west of the Andes Mountains. The Atacama Desert is about 600 miles long, and it is considered to be the oldest dry region on Earth. It's so dry that some weather stations that are found in the Atacama Desert have never, ever received rain. Scientists, in fact, believe that there was no rain whatsoever from 1570 to 1971. Not a single drop of rain happening in the Atacama Desert. The Atacama Desert is created because of the rain shadow. So think about the mountains and how high they are. They create a rain shadow to the west, keeping that area very dry. The Rio de la Plata is up next. This is located towards the southeastern part of this region. It's an estuary. And an estuary, if you recall, is where fresh water meets salt water. So where the ocean water is meeting a river. In this case, the river that it's meeting is the Uruguay and Parana rivers. But this estuary is so big that some people consider it to be a gulf. Next up is Lake Titicaca and Lake Maracaibo. Lake Titicaca is this lake right here, and Lake Maracaibo is located up here. Lake Titicaca is really high above sea level. In fact, it's the highest lake as far as elevation goes that's still used by ships, while Lake Maracaibo is Latin America's largest lake. They are small in comparison to the large lakes found on other continents. Last up, Brazilian Highlands. The Brazilian Highlands, of course, are found in Brazil, just a little bit south of the Amazon basin. So label those on your front map. The Brazilian Highlands do cover about half of the country of Brazil, and most of Brazil's population is going to live here. It's a good place to live as far as physical features go. A lot of things can happen here. A lot of farming can occur because of the vegetation and the climate that they experience, and a lot of animals are going to live in this region. Throughout the Brazilian Highlands, though, you'll see a lot of diversity. So in one section, you might find certain type of vegetation and something completely different in another part. That's it for the physical features of Latin America. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to describe and locate the major physical features found in Latin America.